A wall of glass framed the cold winter sky, shadows slanting across the polished floor of the billionaire's boardroom. Everyone sat stiff, eyes darting from the giant clock on the wall to the double doors. The billionaire's jaw clenched as he rapped his gold pen against the table, the sound echoing. In one corner, nervous assistants whispered, their voices tight with panic. "She'll ruin everything if those French investors walk," one hissed, clutching her notepad. The owner's son scrolled furiously on his phone, muttering, "Why is no one answering? Where's the translator? We're dead if this falls through." A white-haired executive stood up, voice rising, "You don't understand, this deal means everything. A single mistake and we lose the London contract, maybe even New York." Someone barked, "Who let outsiders in here this early? This is a closed meeting." All the while, Malik, the black caretaker, moved quietly at the back of the room. His uniform was pressed, his shoes clean. He bent to pick up a coffee cup, ignored by everyone except for the sidelong glances that lingered a second too long. Malik heard the snickers just low enough for only him to catch. A young executive in a tailored suit sneered, "Did you check the silverware this morning? Or were you too busy playing on your phone?" The others around the table laughed, a few trying to hide it behind polite coughs. Malik kept his eyes down. The scent of expensive perfume, polished leather, and stale coffee filled the air. He felt the pressure of every gaze, every unspoken accusation. Suddenly, the owner's daughter pointed at Malik, her voice icy. "Someone's been in the private lounge. My watch is missing from the locker. He's the only one with keys." All heads turned. A chill ran down Malik's spine. The billionaire's voice thundered, "Malik, do you have anything to say?" For a long second, Malik stood frozen, all their faces waiting, judging. He took a breath, steady but tight. "I didn't touch anything that isn't mine, sir. You can check the cameras." A few executives rolled their eyes. One muttered, "They always say that." The owner's daughter smirked, leaning close enough that only Malik could hear, her breath cold on his cheek. "People like you never last here." Malik stood silent, the words burning, but his eyes never left hers. All he could hear was the clock ticking, echoing through the room as the meeting descended into chaos. "Hi, my name is Malik. If you believe stories like this need to be heard, please hit like and subscribe right now. Your support helps us shine a light on real injustice." Malik moved through the echoing marble hallways, clutching his cleaning cart, trying to let the morning's humiliation wash off him. Sunlight filtered in through floor-to-ceiling windows, catching on portraits of old-money ancestors and trophies lined along the walls. Every detail in this mansion was polished, precise. A kingdom built on legacy, and Malik knew he was never meant to be more than a shadow in its halls. Downstairs, staff bustled quietly, never speaking above a whisper when the family was near. The head chef, a burly man with a Boston accent, nodded at Malik, sympathy in his eyes but unwilling to say a word. The younger staff, mostly immigrants and people of color, kept their heads low, glancing up only when they were sure none of the executives or the owner's family were watching. In the staff lounge, Malik checked his phone. 3 missed calls from his wife. A video of his daughter's spelling bee waiting. He watched a few seconds, saw her beaming face as she won second place, and smiled. But even here, surrounded by colleagues, Malik felt the tension in the air. Conversations paused as the billionaire's son strode by, sunglasses on indoors, barking orders at anyone who dared meet his eyes. Later, in the rose garden, Malik knelt to fix a busted sprinkler. Old Mr. Reed, the gardener, hobbled over. "You all right, son?" he asked softly, careful to keep his voice low. Malik nodded, hands working the rusty pipe. "Just another day," he whispered. Mr. Reed patted his shoulder, then shuffled away, his limp more pronounced this year. The afternoon stretched long. Malik mopped the empty gym, polished the crystal in the ballroom, and tried to stay invisible. Every hour, a staff manager came by with a clipboard, ticking boxes and eyeing Malik with suspicion. "Be sure you sign out every room you clean." "No mistakes today, Malik," she said, the edge in her voice too familiar. Malik remembered the first time he'd stepped into the estate, a decade ago, desperate for steady work after being laid off in Detroit. He'd been so grateful, thinking this job would be different, thinking that hard work would protect him from the kind of hatred his father used to warn him about. But racism at the estate wasn't always loud. It lived in the way guests asked if he was lost in the foyer, or the way the security chief always randomly checked his pockets at the end of the day. It was the jokes, "Don't steal the silver," that everyone pretended were harmless. It was in every closed-door meeting he'd never be invited to, every email about security concerns that only seemed to mention his name. Yet there were moments of kindness, too. Last Thanksgiving, Malik stayed late to help the sous chef prepare extra meals for the local shelter. On Christmas, he fixed the old dishwasher when the repairman flaked out. Little things that let him remember he was more than just what these walls wanted him to be. That evening, after most staff had left, Malik called home. His wife answered, her voice tired but warm. "You doing all right?" she asked. He paused, swallowing the bitterness. "Just tired, baby. Tell Maya I'm proud of her." As darkness fell and the mansion's golden lights flickered on, Malik stared out over the estate's sprawling lawns, a silent witness to a world built to keep people like him on the outside looking in. But in his chest, something quietly refused to break. Malik was halfway through polishing the East Wing floors when he heard footsteps approaching, quick and heavy. Before he could look up, the estate manager, Ms. Dalton, stormed in, clipboard in hand, eyes narrowed. Behind her, the owner's son and 2 security guards followed, their faces cold and closed. "Malik, come with us," Ms. Dalton said, her voice tight. He wiped his hands and followed them to the private lounge, confusion growing with every step. As soon as they entered, the owner's son pointed to the glass display case. Inside, where an antique watch used to rest, there was now an empty space. "It's gone," the son said sharply, not bothering to hide his glare. "And you were the only one here after breakfast." Malik opened his mouth to speak, but Ms. Dalton cut him off. "We've checked the logs. Your code was used to access this room. That watch is worth more than a year's salary for any of us." Malik shook his head, voice steady but quiet. "I never touched anything, sir. I do my job and leave things as I find them." The security guard stepped closer, crossing his arms. "You mind if we check your locker?" Malik swallowed hard, anger and humiliation rising. "Go ahead. I have nothing to hide." They all marched down to the staff-changing rooms, other workers peering out from behind doors. Malik unlocked his small gray locker, the guard rifled through his things, uniforms, spare shoes, his lunch, nothing out of place. "Maybe he stashed it somewhere else," the owner's son muttered, shooting Malik a sharp look. "People like you know how to hide things." Ms. Dalton wrote something on her clipboard. "We'll review the security footage. Until then, you're not to leave the property." The words hung in the air. Malik felt the weight of every suspicious look, every unspoken accusation. Even people he'd worked with for years avoided his eyes, as if siding with him would put them at risk too. Later that day, the police showed up, called before Malik could even process what was happening. They questioned him in the kitchen, making sure the whole staff could see. Their tone was clipped, impatient, almost bored. "Where'd you put it? Tell us now and things go easier," one officer said, voice barely above a whisper but full of threat. Malik looked at the badges, then at the faces of the family standing behind them, waiting for him to slip up. "I didn't take anything," he repeated. "I have nothing to confess." A female officer scoffed. "They all say that." Malik's hands shook, but he forced himself to stand tall. He could feel the eyes on him. The owners, the staff, the police, all waiting for the confession they had already decided on. That night, alone in the staff room, Malik's shoulders sagged. The humiliation cut deeper than any wound. But under the weight of fear and anger, a stubborn ember refused to go out. He clenched his fists, staring at his reflection in the window. They were not going to break him. If you're still watching, drop a comment below. What would you do in this situation? And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that matter. The house felt different the next morning. Malik noticed how quickly conversations died when he entered a room, how even the housekeepers who used to chat with him now kept their distance. Rumors were spreading, twisting with every retelling, and Malik could feel the story changing every time he walked past. No longer just a missing watch, now theft, whispered with certainty. He kept his head down, doing his rounds in silence. In the main hall, he overheard the owner's daughter speaking with a sharply dressed stranger. "He's the only one with access." "Of course it was him," she said, voice low but pointed. Malik moved on, heart pounding, but he paid close attention. The stranger's voice was smooth, businesslike. "If you want this deal to go through, you can't have this kind of scandal. Cut him loose before it gets worse." The daughter nodded, her lips pressed thin. "We will." By noon, Malik was wiping down windows in the study when he heard soft footsteps behind him. It was Mr. Reed, the old gardener. "Saw the cops here yesterday," he said, voice almost a whisper. "You all right?" Malik nodded, grateful for the kindness. "They're trying to make me the scapegoat, Mr. Reed." "I swear I didn't do anything." The old man patted his shoulder. "I know. Just keep your head. Truth has a way of finding its own." But Malik couldn't let it go. Something about the timing, the urgency of the deal, the sudden focus on him, it all felt too neat, too planned. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Malik slipped quietly through the hallways. He checked the security panel by the service stairs where staff access logs were stored. He scrolled through the recent entries and paused. There, at 5:42 a.m., a code was used to enter the lounge. His code. But Malik knew he hadn't touched the door at that hour. He looked up as he heard muffled voices from the nearby office. Pressing himself against the wall, he listened. The owner's daughter and the stranger from earlier were inside, speaking quickly. "Got the watch. It's hidden in the wine cellar for now. He'll be gone by Friday and no one will care how it happened," the daughter said. Malik's pulse raced. So it was a setup. He was being sacrificed to cover up something bigger, maybe a business deal or a dirty secret the family didn't want exposed. He pressed record on his phone, capturing every word. The next morning, Malik confronted the daughter as she came down the staircase, the stranger at her side. "Why did you use my code to enter the lounge? Why hide the watch and blame me?" Her eyes flashed with anger and fear. "You should have known your place." The stranger stepped forward, voice icy. "You're done here. You'll leave quietly or things will get much worse." Malik held his ground, voice steady. "I'm not leaving until the truth comes out." A showdown was coming, and for the first time Malik knew he had proof on his side. Word spread fast. By noon, everyone on the estate knew the police would be back. Malik was summoned to the grand foyer where the owner waited with his legal team and the family. The house was heavy with silence, tension thick as the marble pillars. 2 squad cars idled outside, blue lights flashing in the afternoon sun, a clear warning for anyone who might think to cross the family. An officer stepped inside, his boots echoing on the floor. "We're here to ask you a few more questions, Mr. Malik." His tone was flat but loaded, the same way someone might address a suspect they've already decided is guilty. The billionaire's lawyer interrupted before Malik could answer. "This is just a formality. We fully expect Malik to cooperate. Of course, if he's innocent, he won't mind answering a few more questions." Malik felt every eye on him, staff, police, family. He nodded and sat across from the officer, trying to keep his hands from shaking. The questioning was relentless. "You've worked here 10 years. Why would you risk everything for a watch? Is there anyone who can verify your whereabouts at 5:42 a.m.? Have you ever been accused of theft before?" The questions went on, each one meant to corner him, make him trip over his words. Malik kept calm, answering quietly, "I was asleep. I've never stolen from anyone. Check the logs for yourself." The officer's expression didn't change. He looked to the owner, who added, "If Malik's so innocent, why did he panic yesterday? I saw him trying to access rooms without clearance." Malik clenched his fists. "I was looking for answers, not hiding anything." "Enough," the officer snapped. "If you have proof, now's the time." Malik hesitated, then reached for his phone. "I do have proof." He played the recording he'd made the night before. The daughter's voice echoed through the foyer, "Got the watch. It's hidden in the wine cellar for now. He'll be gone by Friday and no one will care how it happened." For a moment, the whole room froze. The officer's jaw tightened as he glanced at the owner's daughter, her face pale. The lawyer tried to speak, but the officer cut him off. "We'll need to verify this." He nodded to his partner, who headed for the cellar. Within minutes, they returned holding the missing watch. Whispers erupted. The owner's face went blank, his lawyer looking suddenly lost. The officer turned to Malik, voice softer now. Thank you for your cooperation. It appears you were set up. The family stood in stunned silence, pride wounded, reputation cracked. The officer addressed the owner. We'll be filing a report. False accusations carry consequences. A hush fell over the room. Malik stood, taller now, and walked away from the glare of suspicion and into the clear light spilling through the open doors, finally able to breathe. The shock from the discovery rippled through the estate. The staff, once afraid to meet Malik's gaze, now watched him with awe and quiet support. Malik's shoulders eased for the first time in days, but the owner's family refused to accept defeat. The owner's daughter broke the silence, her voice trembling with anger. You have no right to turn this on us. Do you realize what you've done to this family's name? Malik met her stare, his own voice calm. All I ever wanted was to do my job and be treated with the respect any man deserves. You tried to ruin my life because you thought no one would care what happened to a black caretaker. You were wrong. The billionaire clenched his jaw, eyes narrowing. You may have gotten lucky, Malik, but you'll never work for a family of our standing again. Malik almost smiled. That's fine by me, sir. I won't spend another day where I'm treated like I don't belong. Not now. Not ever. The police finished their report, quietly gathering statements. The lead officer turned to Malik, his tone different now. We're sorry for how this was handled. Sometimes people in power use the law as a weapon. It shouldn't happen. If you want to file a complaint, you have every right. Malik nodded, considering, but shook his head. I just want to go home to my family. That's all. One of the junior staff members, a young woman who had kept silent before, stepped forward. We're proud of you, Malik. You stood up for all of us. Mr. Reed, the old gardener, grinned, his eyes shining with relief. Told you the truth finds its way, son. As word spread, an investor who'd witnessed the entire ordeal approached Malik quietly by the garden gate. You handled yourself with more dignity than anyone in that room. I'd like to offer you a position. My own estate could use a man like you. Someone honest, someone brave. Malik hesitated, then nodded slowly. Thank you. I'll think about it. That night, Malik walked through the estate one last time. The halls felt different now, emptier but lighter. He paused in the kitchen where he'd shared so many silent meals, in the garden where he'd worked beside Mr. Reed, at the staff entrance where every morning had begun in worry. At the exit, he turned and looked back only once. The weight of years slipped off his shoulders. He wasn't just leaving a job behind, he was leaving behind every insult, every accusation, every moment he'd been made to feel small. Outside, the sky was just turning pink. Malik took a deep breath, feeling free, the air cold but fresh. He dialed his wife's number, the phone ringing in the early dawn, hope strong in his chest for the first time in a long while. As Malik stepped onto the quiet street beyond the estate's towering gates, the world felt new, uncertain, but full of possibility. The night air was crisp, the city lights stretching out ahead like a promise. For the first time in years, Malik wasn't weighed down by suspicion or fear. He walked without looking over his shoulder, each step lighter than the last. He stopped at a bus bench under a street lamp, the hum of distant traffic the only sound. Malik pulled out his phone, fingers trembling just a bit as he called home. His wife answered almost instantly, worry turning to relief at the sound of his voice. It's over, Malik said softly. I'm coming home. There was a long pause, then her laughter, pure, warm, and bright, spilled through the speaker. We're waiting, Malik. Maya's been asking for you every night. He closed his eyes, picturing his daughter's face. Tell her dad's proud of her. I'll be there soon. Before heading to the station, Malik sent a short message to Mr. Reed, thanking the old gardener for believing in him when nobody else would. Moments later, a reply buzzed back, you're stronger than you know. Don't ever let them take that from you. Malik pocketed his phone and looked around. In the last orange glow of the streetlights, he watched the estate, once a symbol of power and exclusion, fade into the background. He didn't feel bitter. He didn't feel small. He felt like someone who had survived the worst and found something better on the other side. As dawn broke, Malik boarded the early morning bus. A few passengers glanced his way, then looked back at their phones, no judgment, just the simple indifference of strangers. For once, that felt like freedom. The bus wound through the city, past silent houses and waking neighborhoods. Malik watched the sun rise, gold spilling over rooftops, and felt hope rise with it. He thought about the investor's offer about starting fresh somewhere he'd be seen for his work and his worth, not just a skin. When the bus stopped near his block, Malik got off, stretching in the cool morning air. He could see his daughter waiting in the window, waving wildly as he walked up the drive. His wife met him at the door, tears in her eyes as she pulled him close. Home smelled like coffee and cinnamon, laughter and safety. Malik held his family, letting the moment soak in. He was no longer just the caretaker at someone else's estate. He was a father, a husband, a survivor. As the morning unfolded, Malik promised himself he'd never again let anyone steal his dignity. Whatever the world tried to take from him, he knew who he was, and he knew he'd never walk alone again. The sun climbed higher. Malik looked out at the brightening sky, his heart steady and unbroken, ready for whatever came next. If you believe in second chances and breaking barriers, share this story. To viewers in the USA, UK, and Canada, your voice matters. Together, we can change the world.